Good morning, guys, and thank you, thank you so much for coming in. You know what happened, and I'm sorry. I think I'm like 3 minutes late here, and the reason for that is because this is the first time that I've had a schedule a live before, and so what happened is I didn't know how to go live, so I came to the video under edit and I was like, where's the option to go live? So I had to go under my I had to hit the go live button again and then go underneath the go live on this. I'm getting used to this, guys. So thank you for bearing with me. Hi Sunny. Hi Belle. How y'all doing this morning? Y'all doing good? All right, so let's get this topic started, girls. I didn't even get my tea today, so I am going to get it in a minute, but let's start with there was something that Sunny said on the introduction um, when I was doing the introduction to the to this show today that I really wanted to go ahead and talk about. So I got her comment here, and it says here, when she said men purposely play communication games to make women feel like they have to give up power in a relationship to have a connection at all. That was actually an excellent point. And I really wanted to expound on that because when men play these communication games, it really is a technique that they're using, like you said, to give up power. And it's all for confusion so that they could put you in a mind frame where you're actually desperate to. Oh, thank you. Sunny actually is purple out there, but it's showing up blue. This camera is not all that great, girl. Thank you so much. Well, I have to go to work later today, and I know I work from home. But what happens is they have yeah, they have like a lot of round table meetings and stuff like that. So they actually want you to come up on webcam. So I had the problem one time where I was sitting there and I didn't know I was going to have a meeting on webcam, and they was like, "Come up on webcam, everybody," and I was a hot mess. My hair was a mess. I believe I had a scarf on it. It was just horrible. But thank you. That's why I got my hair and stuff done today because I don't know if they're gonna have a meeting today, and I'm not gonna be caught off guard. But yeah, let's talk about the communication games that a lot of these inconsiderate guys play on women. And you know, the fact that they have to gain power in a relationship at all basically shows that they have insecurities. What amazes me about a lot of guys is that they say that women are insecure, um, and they like to say that we have the issue with insecurity because we're more emotional or we let things get to us more than men do. But when you think about it, men express their insecurities more than women do. The fact that they have to try to play these communication games with you, talking to you 1 minute and then having these temper tantrums to the point where they pull back and they're waiting for you to run after them, or be so desperate to try to have communication with them, and then that actually starts to make them feel more powerful. Um, and that's kind of ironic if you think about it, because a lot of times men say that they're stronger than women and they're more logical than women. But when you look at that, the fact that they're playing these, have to play these games to gain power over someone who actually is supposed to be weaker than they are, what does that make them look like? And I've noticed this a lot. And it's not just in relationships, but it's also can be with friendships as well. There's this like push and pull, um, where they have to have this mastery over you. And there is a phrase that they use that I just can't stand when guys use it because it's like they're equating women to animals. They say that you have to be tamed, and they literally group women who are untamed to those who are tamed. And if you have a mind of your own, they're going to continue to try to chip away at your self esteem, or they're going to try to chip away at who you are so that you can be dependent on them for happiness. Because if they see you smiling or laughing or doing your own thing, um, they may feel as if that that didn't come from them. They aren't responsible for you being happy or you doing anything, and that makes them feel inferior. So they have to find whatever technique that they can use against you to try to break you down and gain power. Was that pretty much what you were saying, Sonny, when you made that comment? Is that pretty much along the lines of what you were thinking as well? Because I have noticed that. And it's not just one race of man, it's a lot of men across the board who feel that way. And it's really sad that we as women have to put up with that. And one of the things that I brought up on my introduction video is that a lot of women feel like they have to put up with it if they don't want to be alone. And a society keeps that before women a lot. What they say is, well, there's more women than men. Um, there's more women than men, so you're more likely going to spend the rest of your life alone. So then you have a lot of women feeling like they have to put up with any type of situation just so that they don't end up alone. I came prepared today. I got my glasses on. So so that I got my glasses right here so that I can read. Okay. It said yes, about a third of the problem men do that. Others use this to create a de facto harem. Exactly. Exactly. And when we say problem men, you're right. Because a real man is not going to need to gain any power over you. They're not going to. And I've noticed too that they start to take your kindness for weakness as well. So if you express any type of interest in the man, that doesn't, they don't filter that as, oh, she likes me, but that doesn't mean that I could take advantage of that. No, the first thing that comes to their mind is she likes me, so she's going to put up with anything that I do and say because she likes me, because she wants this, blah, blah, blah. And it really just twists things. And they feel as if you're going to put up with whatever they say because you've expressed an interest in that. One thing that they don't understand is that a lot of times they end up with just doormats. They don't end up with real women because a real woman can say, I like you, I have interest in you, but you're not going to step all over me. I can walk away from the thing that I like or that I've expressed interest in. I don't need to sit here and put up with your crap just because I expressed an interest. That's a real woman. A lot of women, though, they're so beat down from their self-esteem that they will put up with a lot of these a defective harem is when a guy has a handful of women on string. Yes. When one woman is tired of him, he'll call all his numbers, and whoever's in the right side of needy or vulnerable, he'll zoom in on her. Girl, yes. Oh my gosh, yes. Yes. And this is who I call lunatics. I call men like this lunatics, girl, because and with them having all of these women on a string like this, they can't value one woman. This is the kind of man that could never value a woman because he already has so many women on the line. So he already knows I'm not missing out or losing out on anything because if you don't want to be bothered with me, I got 10 other women that will be bothered with me. And they go in this vicious loop of, that's why they don't mind stepping all over a woman, or getting nasty with a woman, because they already know that they'll never be out of a woman. And you'll hear a lot of men saying that. They'll brag about that. They'll say, hey, you know, I'm never without a woman. I'm never without I can call a woman now, or I got some on standstill. And you have guys that are slick enough to make sure that they don't burn the bridges with their exes, so that they got them on dial too. So when these 10 other women that they haven't ruined are still dealing with them, or if they run out of those 10 other women, they can just start recycling the exes. And they don't realize that this is a problem with themselves, not the women. Sonny, can you bear with me 1 minute? I got to get my tea, girl. Don't leave. I'm going to be right back because I'm sitting here without my tea. I'm going to be just a second, and then because I want to expound on this more, but I'm no good without my tea. And I didn't get my tea together before the live because I was like, I don't want to be too late. But this is going to be like 2 minutes tops. Let me just get this tea real quick. I'll be right back. I am so thirsty for this tea. Is my tea cup out there? I'll get my tea going real. Okay. I just had to get this tea. I hope nobody left. Oh, chai tea. Oh my goodness, girl. I love me some good chai tea. And yes, the bags are so strong, but I love my tea strong. Let me take a sip of this, girl. Okay. So now I feel a little better because I got my tea with me. So yeah, they have several women on a string, and they don't value not one of those women. And you better believe that they know exactly what to say to each woman, okay, to be able to keep them on a string. They will do or say just enough to keep each of those women on the string. And they each have, they study each of these women. So they'll know, well, this one is more emotional. So I'm gonna have to do this or that, or use this or that bait to keep her on the line. Or this one is more strong-willed, so I'm gonna have to do this or that. Meanwhile, professing to care about each one of these women when they really don't. And that's what brings up the question: should women be so desperate that we put up with these inconsiderate men? I'm going to give a good example here about the inconsiderateness of a lot of men. Um, well, first I'm going to use a type of illustration. So if you had a store, okay, and your customers weren't coming in as much as you would like them to, and you had a friend that said, "Hey, I can bring customers to your store." Okay, um, let me just go ahead and talk to a couple of people, and we'll bring some people in. They finally bring a new customer to your store, and you ignore the customer, barely acknowledge their existence, and don't even say thank you to the friend that brought the customer in there. How do you think that friend would feel having been so disrespected like that? They probably wouldn't bring anybody else back to your business. Recently, that's an experience that I had, you know, and it's basically from a very egotistical guy who thinks that his word is gold, and that women should just be obligated to do for him. Very inconsiderate, very rude man. And you know, I'm bringing brought up someone around the platform just to be nice. Didn't even acknowledge the person. Didn't even say, "Hey, good looking out. Thank you so much for bringing someone around," because they're inconsiderate. And this is not just a one-time occurrence. This goes on. This has been going on for as long as I've known the guy. And that's why it brought up the topic. And it's not just me, but I've seen a lot of women have to go through this with men. So I said, I'm going to explore this topic a lot more because, it's time for us as women to step up and not be used by these men. And you really see it, like you said, Sonny, in how many women that they're stringing along. And it really opens up another topic because the women that are willing or allowed to be strung along or reprogrammed actually make it harder for those of us that aren't willing to do that. Because they see that they have the low self esteem. So they'll say, well, I'm willing to allow you to do whatever, throw temper tantrums, or basically let me tell me that my thinking is wrong and basically reprogram your thinking. They literally do that. And the way that they reprogram you is not actually obvious. It goes into suggestions. Like what they'll do is they'll say, well, um, yes, Sonny, you are absolutely right. They gong her emotionally, so it's hard to forget them. They tap into those emotions. They tap into those emotions so that you can keep coming back. No matter how much they've offended you or have gotten nasty, they know that they've tapped into those emotions and that you can't let them go. It's like a vicious loop. They even know what to say to try to bring the emotions back up so that you can, in subtle and big ways, yes, because they already have gotten to know you. Um, no matter how much amount of time they spent with you, they know what your triggers are, they know what buttons to push, they even know what to say in subtle ways that only you know, and other people don't know, that they're trying to weasel back in or have you to go back around them. So it's very subtle in the ways they do things. And I've noticed this about a lot of men. What I've noticed too is that, read your comments about the classes. Let's see here. What? Oh my gosh. Are you serious? So he is actually writing a book and doing a training class on how you can, oh my gosh, manipulate women and emotionally gong them into holding on. That's why he's an ex. That is exactly why he's an ex. And do you know how many men are going to tap into that book? There are going to be a lot of men that are going to go and read that book. And I find that very, I find that to be, and I wish Belle was still here too, because she said that she had some experiences on how to. Oh, good, Sonny. I'm so glad. And I wish that we had Google Hangout set up so that you could actually have told me some of your experiences. Because I've even had men, like you said too, in subtle ways too. Because men will do things like this. And this is just a random suggestion. What? His classes are booked through the year. So there's going to be a whole lot of men in New York City trying to get over on women. And you know what? That's why I wanted to create a channel or page for women to be able to talk about their issues and really just be able to counteract the things that these men do. Because you'll be surprised. I've spoken to some women sometimes who are in situations like this. And what happens is they say, well, I didn't know that. I didn't know that they play these games. I didn't know that they do these things. And they're banking on you not knowing. They're banking on you not knowing the game as it is. Um, and a lot of men, I don't understand this because they say, well, we're we're the stronger sex. Women are weaker, but you have to take classes just to get over on women. A lot of men are more self-conscious and have lower self-esteem than they try to project because a real man would just have open communication. They don't have to play these games. And let me go back to the example that I was speaking about when you were talking about subtle ways that they do things. They do. They reprogram you very subtly because this is just a random example here, but that you could have on, let's say you have a blue or purple dress and they feel like you should be wearing a red dress. So they'll look at you and they'll be like, oh, that's nice. But I like women in a red dress. I think it's sexy when women wear red. Women really turn me on when they wear red. They're sexy like that. They didn't directly tell you that they want you to change and put on a red dress, but subliminally, they put the thought in your head that they want you to wear what they want. So then you start to second guess your choices and how to get dressed because you're looking for their approval so much that you decide to put aside what you want and what you like to try to satisfy him. And you better believe that they're looking forward to see if you have the right reaction that they want. Let me sit back now. I just threw that subliminal message in there and let me see if she's gonna catch what I'm trying to say. And then if you go up there and change into that red dress to turn him on or to, make sure that he finds you attractive, that's when he's like, that's the hook I can use. That's the technique that I'm going to continue to use. And then the next thing you know, they're going to constantly be using these subliminal, what turns me on, or I like women like this, or I like women that do this. And then before you know it, you're no longer living for yourself. You're living for what he has set for you. Your life is going to be based on his subliminal messages and cues on how to act and how to think. Yes, it trains you in several layers, Sonny. Exactly. And to the point where you're so dependent on the way he views you that you can't think for you one thought. You can't even have one thought of your own because you're too busy thinking of whether he would approve of that thought or he would approve of that action. And they call it training. I have her trained well, and they'll know who they can train based on her actions. So they'll see and they know, oh my gosh, men are so good at this. They'll know who they can do this with. Any woman that's willing to please, they know they can go ahead and mold her any way they want. And I hate the term. I don't know if you've ever heard of this, Sunny. I hate the term good girl. That just boils my blood when they say good girl. That is so condescending and just downright disrespectful. And I find it to be derogatory because what they're doing is giving you um, they're giving you a pat on the head as if you're a little dog, like I approve of what you're doing, or I approve, good girl. And then you're kind of looking for that approval every time, you know? And I've heard some men say, well, you're just not the kind of woman for me, or I need a special kind of woman to deal with me. No, you don't need a special kind of woman to deal with you. You need to deal with yourself because you're too immature not to play so many games with women. And a lot of men do that. And in reality, what they're saying is, I need a doormat to deal with me because they are admitting to the fact that as men, they don't stand up. So they have to play around and be difficult to deal with. And they're going to throw temper tantrums. They're going to be nasty. They're going to be rude and inconsiderate. And a special kind of woman would deal with that because she's so desperate to be with them. When in all actuality, nobody has time for that. Not at all. If you don't have kids, you don't need to have a kid by dealing with an overgrown kid. And if you have kids, you need to be dealing with them and not dealing with an overgrown kid. It takes a special kind of man to stand up to the plate and not play these games. Mm-hmm. Yes. You are just hitting it on the head, Sonny. Yes. Women are convinced that there's something special about it because he threw her into some emotional gone. Exactly. Exactly. And they will cling to that. I've heard so many people, women, even women who are not just being verbally abused, but women who are actually being physically abused. And they say this. This is the most common saying that they have is, I see his potential. Never do they stop to think that potential is just be potential if it's not being built up to something else. So what they do is they continue to hone in on the potential or whatever special attributes that they have that they see in this guy, and they ignore the fact that they are just being severely abused on a psychological, emotional, and if it gets that bad, physical level. And they just don't want to admit it because they are so caught up emotionally. They see all the red flags that this guy is not right, but they still do it. And no matter how strong of a woman we are, we've all been through that and had these situations. Exactly, exactly. Whoever responds, that shows them who to target. So if they respond in a certain way, then he knows, oh, I got you. And here's the thing. Women as the hero or the savior. Exactly. The woman is needed to remove his barriers to success. When actually, a lot of women don't stop and think that you can't change a man. Okay? If he's this however old, 20s, 30s, 40s, especially 30s and 40s, you're not going to change him. If he hasn't worked to change himself for the better, there's nothing that your presence is going to do in that relationship but allow you to be a stepping stool for him. There's nothing that you can change in him because obviously, like they say, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. You can't. And a lot of times they know that this is what they're about and they like it. They're not trying to have you change them, they're trying to change you. So a lot of times they will allow you to feel like they need you. And some men even say that, whether they say it outwardly or they say it in subtle ways, they'll make it seem like they need your help or they need you. So that you can feel like you need to be around this man so he can be a success. One thing that I do believe in, but I don't believe in, is that saying where they say behind every good man is a good woman. That is true when you're dealing with two adults. If your man is complete when he meets you and you're complete, then yes, you can both be complete together. But when you're dealing with a little boy that's not complete, there is no way you can be a good woman and stand by his side without him stepping all over you. And that goes for women, like I said, in relationships or even in a friendship, because they will use you because there's something within themselves that's not complete. They have to deal with the fact, exactly, make you feel obligated or guilty if you don't help them. I've had a friend, and she's not on YouTube, so she ain't gonna know what I'm talking about her. But I'm not gonna say her name, but this tea is good, girl. This tea is good. Um, but she had a husband that severely beat her, and every time she left, he made her feel guilty. He made her feel less than. He felt like, oh, you're leaving me. You don't want to help me. You're just walking away, and just so dramatic. And it's amazing how they can play these victims when you're tired of the bull crap. So whenever she'd leave, he'd play the guilt trip. He'd say, well, I need your help, and that you're better with the bills than I am, and you're just gonna leave me in a rut. And she would call me and she was like, what should I do? I don't know what to do. I'll say, he's playing a game on you. How was he paying his bills and doing what he needed to do before he met you? But she was, like you said, in this emotional gong that she couldn't see past the fact that he was running game. And like I was saying on the introductory video to this show here, is that women are natural born nurturers and we're naturally more emotional. And guys take advantage of that. They do. They Even the toughest guy that never drops his little tough act will send out a signal to a woman to make her feel as if she needs to be there for him. And then that's when they go ahead and they play those games with you. So you are really on point today, Sonny. I mean, I really value you being in here on these lives because it is true. And another thing too is that when we're talking about the communication, this is a big one because a lot of guys don't really, you're welcome. A lot of guys don't want to have that communication. And the reason why they don't want to have that communication is that they would have to answer for their actions. So what they will do is either not communicate with you at all, or they will communicate with you in a crowd of their peers so that they can have backup when they're caught in their lies. Because if they have somebody in the back to validate what they're saying, then their lies become more true to themselves. And then they can play the victim in front of their friends or whoever else is validating them. And then it makes it seem like you're the one who's crazy when you're not. Um, and what's so inconsiderate about a lot of these people too is that they'll be like, "Oh yeah, we're cool. I'm cool with you and everything else." But when you see some shady stuff they're doing, you want to sit up there and have a conversation, and they call themselves conversation people, and they don't have that conversation with you. They do not have that conversation with you. They will run like a crackhead that stole something. Excuse my expression. They'll sit there and even if you're wrong about it, why not sit down as an adult and have a conversation? No, they'll sit there and they will avoid that conversation because they're not mature enough to sit down and be like, what's going on? Because they don't care. Exactly. Or deflect. That's right, Sonny. Because you fear the color red, then together you'll get rid of everything red. You're so focused on the color red, you get further away from the truth. Exactly. So they'll throw something in there into a conversation that makes absolutely no sense. And what they will do is they will get you away from the truth, what you were trying to say. And then you're so busy focused on one thing that you don't never circle right back to exposing the truth. Exactly. You get tricked because you think they're opening up and growing when they're really not. That's called not knowing, letting your left hand know what your right hand is doing. Exactly. They used to, I believe, musicians or people who do card tricks or whatever do that, where they have you looking at something on this end when they're really doing the trick over here. So you're so busy looking at this when it's a prop to not show what they're doing over here to perform the trick. Did I have that right, Sonny? I think I do. Um, and that's what men do. No, your comment, girl, that was funny. You said deflection is lesson 3 from New York City slime ball. I really like you. You are a trip. Yeah, he sounds like a slime ball. So he actually has a chapter in his book for guys to learn how to deflect. And they are good with deflecting because here's what they do. They will sit there and they yes, they're really good with deflecting. They'll sit there and and lying too. Hold on. They will deflect. They'll be like, you didn't see that. You didn't hear that. I never said that. When did that happen? When did that happen? And then it gets you sometimes too because you're like, hmm, maybe I was wrong. Maybe I did. Let me think here. Wait a minute, am I overreacting? And then you caught in the moment because they know it. Bam, there you go with the lie. And it is so, yes, gaslighting, like we were talking about before. They gaslight you. And so, you're like, maybe I'm tripping. Let me tone it down a little because I know how I am. I'm a little emotional. Let me get it together here. No, what they're doing is it's a wicked scheme to try to get what they want. And a lot of times, what they do is this. When we were talking about 2 categories of women, so you have the category of women who just submit and just go along with the gaslighting, go along with the deflection. They're cool as long as they got this person in their life. But then you got the strong minded, strong willed women who aren't going to accept that. And what happens at that point is it becomes a game of how to chip away and break this woman down. So they're not in your life um, because they like you. They can put on that impression very well, though, because they have to have a crumb out there to make it seem as if you're working at something, at a friendship or whatever it is to try to keep you around. Meanwhile, they're secretly in the background hating you. So you're thinking that you got a friend here, or if you're in a relationship, you got a relationship going. When actually this nigga got a knife in your back and he's turning it and he's turning it and he's turning it. And you get a little hint at the knife being turned because you're like, I feel the pain back there in my back, but it can't be him because he's just, you know, I, he's smiling. I don't know if it's him. And then every day you get a little more. Okay, go ahead. Oh wait, before you take a shower, can you pour some more tea in here for me?
Yes.
Thank you so much. Um, so every day you're getting little hints that this person can't be trusted, but because, like you were saying, the emotional gone or whatever kind of rapport that you have thought that you established with this person, you're not willing to. Thank you, sweetie. You're not willing to throw that away, and so you're like, let me see if this is the person who stabbed me in the back, and it is. Most times it is. And if you're a strong-minded, strong-willed woman that is not going to conform or allow yourself to be reprogrammed by these men, you're going to have a tough time. And I can speak for that personally because a lot of guys that have liked me and been around me have each and every one of them have tried to break me in some way. Thank goodness that life experience and just seeing how men are caused me to not fall into that trap. And that's why, and sometimes, no matter how strong you are, you always get one that's really good, that gets in there and almost breaks down your defenses. And then you're fighting back and they're coming back at you in subtle ways. And, you know, as a woman with a head on your shoulder, you're like, no, I feel myself falling into a trap, but I'm going to keep pulling back. And they cannot stand that when you regain control of yourself. And what they say to try to break that down. Hey, Shadow News, how you doing? Thank you for stepping in. Yeah, men do need to start respecting women better. I honestly believe that. Because when they start to respect women better, what happens is they won't find the need to try to have to control the woman. They won't find the need to have to try to play games with women because they respect women too much. And they understand that women are emotional and they will work with that because, and they try to say that being emotional is a bad thing, but it actually is not. That's what makes us women. Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad that you're enjoying the sunshine and you have a smile on your face today. I'm very happy about that because we definitely don't want to be frowning up in here, even when we're talking about a serious topic. But yeah, back to what I was saying about how they try to trip away if you have your own mind. You know, they generally do. It starts to become a um, a push and pull of whether they can break the woman down. And also, too, they try to look at you to see what they can use from you. Okay, so if there's something that they can use from you, they'll keep you on a string. They'll constantly um, keep throwing out just enough for you to hang on so that they can continue to use you. Meanwhile, making it seem as if you're bonding or y'all are bonding when it actually is just them appeasing you so that you can stick around and continue to benefit them. And it's really sad that a lot of women aren't aware of that. And I'm not a therapist or anything like that. I'm just someone who actually has seen this happen, has tried to have it happen to me. And I really don't believe that women should put up with it. So since we discussed the different techniques that men do to try to keep women down or to try the most that they can to break them down and to tame them, because goodness knows women are dogs, right? We need to be tamed. We don't have our own minds. um, so tame us, because whatever. Women need to counteract that by having their own mind frame and having their own set of standards that they're not going to deviate from. Don't be so scared of being single or alone or not having this man in your life that you'll be able to be turned by whatever they say or do. Um, Men are not that important that you need to sit there and really disown yourself to appease them. Because when you start to do that, they're never going to be appeased. It's kind of like, hmm, wife life. Hello, how are you? Thanks for stepping in. Um, you would say it would be called compromise. Exactly. Exactly. Well, what would you say would be called compromise though? Because I'm good, trendy wife life. I'm very good. I'm sipping on my tea right now, so I'm good. If I didn't have it, I wouldn't be good, girl. I'd be sitting here like a mental case. I'm telling you that right now. So, Shadow News, when you say that it would be called compromise, who's compromising? Are they both compromising, or is it the woman compromising? Or when you say compromise, are you basically talking about um, the woman compromising herself or what she needs or wants for the man? Because that can go in any direction. So just give me a little clarity on what you mean by that. This is, I got a formula for weeding out those types of men. It's a conversation pattern. Healthy minded, intended folks will easily and comfortably fall into the pattern. Yes, Sonny, I agree with you on that. Because when you get someone who does not want to communicate with you at all or have a conversation, that means there's something wrong with them. They're hiding something, or something, or they don't value you as important. Even though they'll keep you around, they will always shy away from having an in-depth conversation with you. And that is a big red flag, because when you communicate with someone or have an open dialogue with someone, you're actually able to get a better understanding of who that person is. When they shy away from talking to you and having a conversation, is because they don't want you to know who they are. And a lot of women are just, well, they're busy, or, the busy thing. Oh my gosh. They always say busy, but men make time for everything else in their lives when it's important to them. If talking to you is important to them, they will be busy. And if they can't have a conversation with you, it's because something's wrong with them. Okay, Shadow News said compromising is like two minds thinking alike. So if you have a bill and it needs to be paid, you both put your minds together instead of arguing about it. I agree with that. Shadow News, yes. When two people are in the same accord, then they are going to put their minds together to pay a bill or get what they need done. They're not going to sit there and go against each other. But that takes people being on the same mind frame. They have to be on the same plane. And in order to do that, like Sonny was saying, conversation pattern needs to be established. They need to be talking to one another so that they can understand where they both stand as far as mentally. And if they're a good match, then they work together. Whether, like I said, whether it's a romantic relationship or a friendship, you need communication, you need conversation. And that goes with anybody. That can even go with, I have friends that are females and I conversate with them all the time. Why? Because we keep our we know we have things in common. We wouldn't know we had things in common if we didn't talk. Talk about the needs, fears, expectations, and the big and small conversation. Exactly. Exactly, Sonny. If you don't communicate these things, then you really don't know who this person is or what their intentions are if you don't get an understanding of these things. And so you're basically talking to a stranger whenever you do say one or two things to them. Okay, Shadow News said, with supporting somebody, you have to support yourself and you have to own something like property before you could bring a relationship. That's my point of view. Because I've seen people ruin relationships over internet, over finances, and over their dislikes, which could have been compromised. Exactly. Exactly. I agree, Shadow News. So people do ruin relationships over things that can easily be solved when just sitting down and talking. Especially when, and what Sunny News is basically saying is, this is like relationship stuff. When you're actually in a relationship with somebody and you have to combine those properties and you have to basically speak about these things. You have to sit down and have an open dialogue on how you're going to do this. But I like when you said, Shadow News, that you have to support yourself. You can't come into a relationship with somebody and not have your own, because then what you're doing is you're putting yourself in a position to be enabled by someone else. And that is the unfair balance. But when you're both coming into a relationship and you both have something, then you're both contributing something to the relationship. And I think that contributing something to a relationship should be even more than just property. It actually should be, okay, you're coming into a relationship and you have your own property, finances together. Excellent. But then there's more also to maintaining a healthy relationship than just the property or money. You have to come in a relationship being able to give of yourself in a good mentally and emotionally. Okay. So if you come into a relationship or a friendship or whatever it is, and you're psychologically and emotionally unavailable, then the things that you have is great. You'll have a house to sleep in and you'll have money to spend, but you'll always be looking for something more on an emotional and psychological level. So both people have to be coming into the relationship as a complete person, as having their own in every sense of the word and not just financially. Um, would you say here, Sonny? I want to see a movie. I need to see the matinee. I fear being late. I expect to leave 30 minutes early. For a big topic or issue, this technique is invaluable face to face, the body language. Expound on that a little more, Sonny. Yes, Shadow News conversation is key. Oh, hey Brittany, how you doing, girl? No, it's okay that you're late. It's okay because you know what they say, right? Better late than never. Hello, you're here. I'm happy you're here. Late or not, girl. Thank you so much for the support. Um, so so let's see. Hell yes. So let's see what Shadow News said. It says you also have to love yourself and love who you are and respect yourself before you can love another human being. I agree with that. And a lot of people will say so many times, oh, I love myself because I know I'm all of this and I know I'm all of that. And look at these looks and look at this and look at that. Honey, please sit your behind down. Okay? Because if you have to sit there and pump yourself up for other people, then you don't got it like that. Let's just be real here. Because people who know and are happy with themselves, they don't have to do all of this blowing smoke up people's behinds to prove that they're valuable to somebody. No, that's not how it works. Real people who are confident don't need validation from anybody else. You know, loving yourself is actually loving yourself where other people can't see it. You're going to have that in your presence and the way you walk and in the way you allow people to treat you. So basically, women who love themselves on the inside, they're not going to allow a man to talk to them anyway. They're not going to allow a man to treat them anyway. And it's not because they don't value leadership. It's not because they don't respect men. It's because they love themselves too much to allow a man to talk to them anyway, to treat them anyway, or to devalue them in any way. So a lot of times people say, well, women who are willing to please their man and do whatever it takes for their man, that's the example that all women need to set. I agree to a certain extent that you do have to look at men as leadership roles if they're going to run your household. But I don't agree in just blindly following a man or uh, trying to appease them in any way, because then you lose your sense of yourself, and that is not the example you want to set. You want to be able to, in a respectful way, to challenge some things that you don't agree with. And any man that cannot take his point of view being challenged is not a man that you want to be around, because they're never going to respect your opinion or your stance on things. Um, oh, Sonny, would you say here? A slime ball won't tolerate a need, fear, expectations combo. As you said, he doesn't want you to know him well. Yes, correct. The booked videos and classes on how to be a jerk teaches that to give a woman equality. I love your wording, girl. Slime ball jerk. He sounds like a slime ball. You know what? I'd like to visit New York and give him some of these hands. You know what I'm saying? My right hook is good. Anyway, but no, but that's true because and I'm not going to say this word, but anomaly. Men like to Men that are no good like to hide in shadows. So they're never going to allow you to know them well. So they're not going to open up and have any kind of deep conversation because they want to keep on playing you. Yeah, they don't want women to have that power. Okay, thank you, Henix. I'm glad you agree with me. If you have anything to add to it, just throw it in the comment in the chat, and we will discuss it. Well, if you love a person, they can always meet the wrong. But if you're married, the woman is always right if you love her. Okay. Now, I mean, you can think that if you want to, but I haven't been married. I've turned down marriage proposals, but just because you're married don't mean you're always right either. But you know that's what they say. Happy wife, happy life. People love saying that all the time. It isn't true. Because that's another topic for another day. But a demanding woman, no. That makes a demanding woman right there. Would you say, Sonny? Okay, it says, if he crosses his arms or legs, leans away from you, those are signs that his thoughts don't match his words. Correct. Correct. Because what he's doing is those are defensive. Those are defensive. Oh gosh, what's the word, girl? Those are defensive moves or motions where you know, they're not telling the truth. A lot of times you can look in a person's eyes and see, or even just their facial expressions, and see within seconds whether they're hiding something, because they have a lot of an expression can go past their face within seconds without them realizing that they done told on themselves. Okay. And I read people like a book. I can hear what you're saying all day long, but if what you're saying doesn't match up what I'm seeing on your face, and that's another reason too why a lot of men who are inconsiderate or want to play women, they don't want to sit down and have a conversation because you're looking right in their face and you're reading off all these cues. And their eyes, their facial expressions, and their mannerisms, as Sonny brought out, will tell the truth on how they really feel about you or whether they're telling the truth to you at all. So that's correct. I like to look at the facial expressions all the time. That tells me right there. Um, it's Sonny, people have to think before they speak. As they say, you're weak with your celery. Weep what you sell. Do you mean reap what you sow? Shadow News. Is that what you're trying to say? Shadow News, are you a woman or a man? I mean, we're not saying that men aren't welcome here because you can come up in here and say what you want because you've been saying some pretty good stuff here. But I just wanted to know, are you a woman or a man? That's all. Girl, I'm sitting here reading these comments and I did not expect that. But I love it. Yes. Wow, I'm gonna read that again. Limp stalks of celery are what these slime balls are working with. That's what you guys are working with. Is that why you're mad? No, even if they are working with a salami, it ain't all that great if you gotta be doing all of this. Thank you, girl. Thank you so much, Brittany. But you're right. They do avoid face to face. And even do you know even tone fluctuations can tell when a guy is lying when they're fluctuating their voice. And you're just sitting there and you're just like, this nigga's lying. This dude is lying. You know, how are you gonna sit here? Oh, and then sometimes when you the angry inch. Sonny, let me tell you something, girl. I saw a video of the country with the guys the littlest, and there was all kind of who had the little peepees because they were in the comment section upset talking about you can't generalize people. I was like, yeah, but anyway. They're angry. They're angry, man. It's you got to sit, and I want to keep it clean because some of my subscribers are younger, but I'm gonna expound on it without saying the actual word. But yes, some of these guys have to sit on a toilet and pee. Yes, I knew you were a man, Shadow News, because I know men well and I know how they speak. So I knew you were a man and not a woman. Well, welcome anyway. I like the smell of testosterone. It smells good. Welcome, though. But yeah, the study done got me off topic, girl. And I was on a roll there. Now you got me thinking about little inch high nines. Um, so would you say, Shadow News? You say, yeah, body language is always key, or they like to blame instead of looking at themselves what they're doing. So who likes to blame? Is it the women, or are you agreeing that the men like to blame? Because I know that men like to say that women take the blame, that the women play the blame game, but men play the blame game too. They really do. Because what happens is a lot men have a harder time admitting when they're wrong. Let's just be real here. And as a man, I'm right, right? No, men have to take responsibility for himself. Women have to do one thing, and that's just be loyalty, respect, and kind. I agree. I agree. Men do have to take responsibility for themselves. Okay. Um, because they're men. But now, when you say that women have to do one thing, and that's just be loyal and respectful and kind, that's true. But they also have to take responsibility for themselves as well. Women aren't just to sit by a man's side and just be loyal and respectful and kind. Yes, those are attributes of a woman. Those are good attributes. I'm not saying they're not, but women have their own minds and they can think as well. When a lot of time when men say that women have one thing, and that's to be loyal, respectful, and kind, I don't know. It just sounds like you're describing a lap dog, and women have more qualities than just that. And then you have to think of where are you coming from when you're talking about respectful and loyal? Because it has gotten to the point where a lot of men feel that if a woman questions them in any way, that in some way is disrespectful. And a lot of men can't take when a woman questions them. And I'm not talking about women who feel as if they want to argue about everything about a man. I'm not saying that, but just women are just like, well, hold the phone, pause. I'm not feeling what you're saying right now. Um, Men can kind of construe that into misconstrue that and say, well, that's being disrespectful. So just give me a little clarity on what you mean when you're saying that they have to be respectful. Um, because that's another, and I'm glad to have a guy in here who doesn't think that we're attacking men, but that's another thing that men like to do is they like to play on words. They'll take a word respectful and they'll make it seem as if a woman's not respectful if she steps out on her own and has her own opinions or thoughts. And that's another way that men can manipulate women. And they're so busy downing themselves that they'll go ahead and no longer have an opinion just to seem respectful and submissive when that's not what is submissive. Subservient is what that is. Well, okay. You said the man is the head of the household. So if the man is the head of the household and he's responsible for paying bills and he has to be loyal to that woman and he has to be there for two. Um, Give me a minute to think on what you're trying to say here. Because when you are talking about being a head of a household, it doesn't mean that he just takes all of that responsibility on his own. There's a difference between being a head of the household and being the sole provider. Okay, so yes, the man is responsible for making sure that a household runs smoothly, but then so is the wife in a certain respect. So you're saying he's responsible for paying bills. They both actually should be responsible for paying the bills. They should both be working to make sure that there's a roof over their heads, if they have kids, a roof over their children's heads. So that doesn't fall solely on the man. Um, in to put my to try to put a little bit of clarity on what I'm trying to say is that um, the man is a head of the household in his leadership roles, and that's different from just paying bills. And a lot of people kind of misconstrued that, thinking that being a head of the household is just solely paying the bills and he has to be loyal to that responsibility. No, it's the way he runs his house. And that is far more of a bigger undertaking than just paying bills. How does he treat his wife? Can she basically trust him to make good decisions? And it doesn't always have to be decisions on paying bills, but decisions on what they're doing as a couple, how to raise their children. And the wife sits down with him and discusses these things. And usually, after considering her and considering what he says, his decision is the final decision because he's the head of the household, he's running the house. So, yes, that is a responsibility, but it's not just solely on paying bills, it's his leadership roles, it's his decision making. Exactly, Sonny. There is a big difference between tax status and relationship power. Correct. In a healthy relationship, the power is fluid and dynamic between the two. Correct. So there shouldn't be a point in a relationship where, oy, excuse me, I had to rub my eye. These glasses are helping me see these comments. Uh, Without them, I can't see anything. The screen is blurry as ever. But correct. So if they are in a relationship where there is a whole bunch of issues and strife, and I have seen this, I'm telling you. So I'm not talking off of the top of my head. I have seen people where they can never agree on anything. They're always at a standstill. Nothing's ever getting done. They're always arguing. They're always fighting. That's an unhealthy relationship. And it's because they put priorities on the wrong things. Tax status. So many couples argue over money. The biggest breakups and divorces and just straight up walking away is because they couldn't see eye to eye on money and they couldn't separate the two between money and relationship power. And I don't feel like one person should have power in a relationship. I think that they both should have an equal amount of power in that relationship because they're both respecting each other and thinking of each other so much so that neither one of them is trying to get an upper hand on the other. They're both trying to be there for one another. So it should be fluid. The communication should be fluid. The everything should go smoothly. Like Sunny said, the dynamics between the two, it should just be easygoing. And I'm not saying that there's not going to be issues, but it's not going to be so insurmountable that you can't deal with them. Not bad for a single chick, right? Right, Brittany? Because people say, well, single people, they can't say nothing about relationships because you ain't in one. Give me a second to sip my tea, get my caffeine in me. I'm going to tell you why what they said is wrong. The reason why single people can speak on relationships is because, yeah, it should be equal if two minds think alike. But two minds won't be able to think alike if one is playing with the other. And that's what the whole topic of the show is about, too, is about whether women should be dealing with men who are inconsiderate or don't consider their thoughts at all. Because when you're in a dynamic like that, where only one person is benefiting, then you can't get on the same mind frame as them. And if there is a communication breakdown, then you'll never be on the same mind frame as anyone else, as the person that you're trying to have a relationship. Well, we're talking more relationship here. A lot of what y'all are saying are relationships, but for a single person, even just a friendship, you can never get on the same mind frame with somebody if there is a communication breakdown. It's just not going to happen. So the only way that you can think alike or know whether you think alike is to keep that communication open. Once that communication is open, that tells you whether you can or can't mesh well with the person. Hi Sylvia, how you doing? Oh, that's true. Thank you. I'm glad you agree with me. Thank you for stopping in today. I'm so glad to have you here. Welcome. Oh, I am very good, Sylvia. Thank you. I hope you're doing well today. So, yeah, it does go back to your childhood and what you're taught. to a certain extent, though. And I'm going to tell you why. When you start to get a certain age, you can no longer you can no longer sit there and say, "Oh, it's my childhood," because if you grew up in a childhood in a household where the family dynamics are just thrown off, where you actually have a father disrespecting a woman or disrespecting his wife, excuse me for that. When you have a father disrespecting his wife, the son, because he's impressionable, because he's young, he starts to thinking that's the way you deal with women. That's the way you deal with people. But then when you start to get a certain age and you start to see that maybe these views that you once held when you were younger and didn't know any better um, aren't actually the correct views, then you start to, as you grow older, to change that. When you start to see that my relationships aren't working out, my friendships or connections with other people are starting to be ruined behind the way I'm thinking. So maybe I need to reevaluate how I approach things. And that's for people who are strong, though, because it takes a strong person to sit there and admit, I've got to change this about myself. This is not working. A lot of men allow pride and egotism to actually govern how they're going to act or readjust their thinking because they feel like what they're doing is best. So they never sit down and start to adjust what they were taught when they were children. And so they continue the pattern in their older age. So to a certain extent, I do agree. It's what you're taught, but when you get older, you should know better, you know? And when you know better, you start doing better. So you can't always rely on that. So you said toxic friends do many of the same techniques. We just accept it from a potential mate. Exactly. And the reason why you accept it from a potential mate is because there is another element being thrown in there. So you can get rid of a friend quickly, but because there's not that one element, and that one element is romance. So when you have somebody who you feel like, oh, I like this person, or I want to be with this person, or whatever, that throws your whole dynamic off. And it only takes a strong woman to be able to say, yeah, I like and want this person, but I'm able to let you behind go too, because you tripping over here. And a lot of women can't do that. And men will take that and they'll say, well, you want this girl. That's why you over here. Hey, yes, I'll slap that behind in a heartbeat. But when you start tripping, I can be out as well because you're not that important and you're not the only piece of good looking meat out here. Okay. And a lot of women do need to stand up and be that way. Um, so if a romantic element is thrown in there and you're sitting there, it's not a weakness to let some guy know that you like them. It's a weakness if you allow them to know you like them and are willing to be a doormat because you like them. Because you don't have enough of a backbone to say, I'm gonna step away from this and I'll find something better around the corner. I don't care how much I like you, you ain't gonna step all over me. You ain't gonna say what you want to me. Because I'll leave your fine behind where you at. But there's too many women that don't. I gotta have him. I gotta like he's the only man in the world out there that looks good. Honey, there are plenty of them, and you just need to find one that respects you. Um, Thank you, Brittany. Thank you. Like I said, I was a little nervous, and I had these topics on my mind for a while that I wanted to discuss because I have like a lot that I would like to really discuss and talk about, but I was too scared to go live because, like I said, sometimes I get caught up in my own head, and I think going live are for bigger channels. It's not for someone with a small, channel. But I decided because when Chris was like, just go live, I decided to go ahead and just go live and just speak my mind. Even if I'm in here talking to myself, I'll speak my mind, and it feels good to get these topics off my head. And with you guys in here, um, y'all are really encouraging me. Thank you so much. Um, oh, thank you, Shadow News. Thank you. I'm doing a fantastic job. I'm trying. Because sometimes my thoughts get just jumbled up and it's hard to say them. So I sometimes stumble over my own words. What did Sonny say here? Oh, Sylvia, you said, yeah, you believe that too? Yes, Sylvia, everybody is responsible for their own actions. So they can't continue to just blame childhood. They can't continue, like they say, well, let's blame, oh, and this is the biggest issue. And I know that right now everybody in my chat room isn't of the same culture, but I'm going to say this. I notice this a lot around about black men all the time. They want to sit there and they want to blame single mothers for everything. You're responsible for your action when you become a certain age, honey. So you out there running around shooting people, robbing banks, and this is your single mama's problem. Ooh, I'm gonna have a separate topic on that, but let's not do that, boy. Grow up and become responsible for your own actions. And it says, don't expect it from a mate. Toxic friends we learn about in childhood usually. Yes, honey, you do learn in childhood, what about toxic friends. That's correct. Yes, Sylvia. Yes, psychiatrists. You know what? And that really surprises me because psychiatrists get paid all of this money just to sit here and lie to these people. It's your childhood. What was your childhood issues? What are your issues right now causing you to continue to lean on your childhood issues for issues that you having right now as a grown person who's able to think for themselves? Okay, let's come to the issues that you got now. Let's not talk about the childhood. Yes, childhood issues and traumas do affect you when you're an adult. I'm not saying that they don't. But when are you going to sit here and have take responsibility for goodness sakes, people, for for what you're doing now? When are you gonna do that? I don't know. Oh, thank you, Sylvia. I'm glad you like the topic. Uh, okay, Brittany says it's for anyone. That's why you can rewatch. Correct. You sure can. It says big channels don't allow for so much interaction. Comments get lots in the chat. Yeah, yes, honey, because I have been on a lot of bigger channels where you're in the chat room and you're talking and they don't see your comment because there's so many comments in there. And they'll have like 700 to 1,000 people in the chat room talking, and they don't interact with people because they can't. It's just too many there. Well, we're not perfect, right? Let me sip some tea to that. And the reason that I want to sip some tea to that is because, hold on, let me get my tea in me. All right, let's talk. Now, when people say we're not perfect, right? I have mixed feelings on that. And you know what? If you didn't tell me you were a man, which I already knew you were a man because men talk different than women, that statement right there would have told me you're a man. Even if I didn't know or had um, some weird mixed feelings of whether you're a man or not, that tells me you're a man. Men say that all the time. We're not perfect, right? We're not perfect. We know you're not perfect. Okay? Men aren't perfect, women aren't perfect. But what I find is that a lot of times, and I'm not, putting you in the hot seat here, Shadow News. This is not me talking about you. This is me talking in general. A lot of times, um, men say we're not perfect to actually cover up the things that they do. So they'll do shady things and or you'll catch them in a lie, or you'll catch them being jerks and nasty and non-appreciative, and you're like, "What's up? Why are you acting like this? Nobody's perfect, girl. Nobody's perfect." And you're like, "What?" So that's an excuse to be rude, callous, or a jerk, right? So when somebody says that, and I'm not saying that about you, Shadow News, I want you to know that. But but you know, we can't always hide behind we're not perfect, because that's common knowledge. We all know that we're not perfect, but we can do the best that we can not being perfect though. We being not being perfect doesn't all of a sudden stop us from being able to reason, and it definitely doesn't stop us from being able to treat people in a decent manner. So that's all I'm saying. So I never really liked that phrase too much. um I take full responsibility for my actions. I don't believe my ex for nothing. She has to take responsibility for her actions. Yeah, you know, your ex has to take responsibility for her actions, just like you have to take responsibility for yours. Everybody has to be responsible, especially when because we're adults. Corey, what you doing over there, boy? Never, never. Anyway, so everybody has to take responsibility for their actions, and sometimes, because you said that she's your ex, what's Pretty saying over here? Yes, Misty, that ain't I modded yet. Why ain't I modded yet? Ah, girl, the reason I didn't mod nobody is because my channel's real small, and I don't see trolls jumping up in here just yet. But if they do, you gonna get it. Because I went to and I'm not. I know this is off topic, but let me just throw this out here real quick, because I thought this was kind of crazy, and I'm not talking about them because it, look, it is what it is. I'm about to say it. So I went to this person's live for the first time. Okay, I think about maybe a week or two ago, and he just threw a wrench on me. And I'm like, I appreciate it, but I didn't do anything to earn it. This is the first time. You don't know me. This is the first time I'm coming to your live. And just because I said something that made you laugh, you're like, I'm modding you. And then when you look in this person's live, everybody's got a wrench. What the hell is that about? Anyway, so I was like, come on. But if I see the need for one, yeah, girl, you're oh hell, oh this girl is attacking the mailman. Grab her, yeah, put her upstairs, please. I'm sorry, guys. Hold on. Yeah, she can't attack that mailman. Oh my goodness, I should have had. I'm sorry. I told y'all already that it might be a little ghetto in some of my streams, because this is just what it is. It really is. I forgot to put the dog up, and she likes to attack the mailman. And so, oh, girl, no, it's okay. It's not that strict in here where you have to worry about getting me off topic, because I bounce back. I like I like people interacting, joking, talking, and if you get off topic, that's fine, because I'll get off topic with you, and we'll get back on topic in a minute. So it's good. All right. So don't worry about it. I mean, my people got me off topic and didn't even apologize. Now that's rude. That was a good one. Now see, now let's see if Peanut can go up there. Did you even get that dog back up on the room for me? Huh? Is she in the room? No. Get her in the room, please. I'm trying, but yeah. No, just grab her by the collar and bring her upstairs and shut the door. I mean, she's not gonna bite you door. Already. So yes. So what was I saying, guys? Um, it's productive tangents. What's that, Sonny? I'm not familiar with that phrase. I'm not familiar with productive king. Let me look up that word. Tangents? That's the first time I've ever heard of anything like that. I've never heard of tangents. Forgive me for my ignorance, but I've never. A straight line or plane that touches a curve or curved surface at a point, but if extended, does not cross it at a point. A completely different line of thought or action. Okay. Maybe no, you didn't misspell it at all because when I took a look at it, it's right. So yeah, it's a completely different line of thought or action. A tangent. Oh, girl, I've been saying that word wrong for the longest time. So now I'm seeing it. That's me, girl. I'm sorry. So Sylvia said, no one is perfect. I remember Oprah always said, take responsibility, own your actions. Yes. You have to take responsibility and own your actions. That's the only way that you're going to grow and be mature. Um, and a lot of times, um, oh, love you back, Sonny. But a lot of times you're going to get um, people who aren't willing to own their actions. And it's only because sometimes their issues are so much too much to deal with that they don't want to face the facts that they have to change it. So owning up to their responsibilities or actions would mean that they have to admit that they're wrong. And a lot of times people who haven't grown up, are you arguing with the dog? Just drag her into the room and shut the door, Corey. Come on, you're still on the stairs. Oh my gosh. I'm trying not to like pick up bite. No, but she's not gonna bite you, and you know that. So just grab her and drag her in the room. So a lot of times, now I just lost my thought. But I'm gonna get it back. What was I saying, guys? Oh, a lot of times, yes, some do want to blame others, Sylvia, because it's easier to deflect and project their issues on other people. Because if they have to admit that they're wrong and they have to admit that they have to change something, it's too much work for them. And sometimes it can be downright painful because they have to realize that these qualities are not, oh my gosh. Get over it. Oh my gosh. Lexi, come on. Oh my gosh. Lexi, I'm not going to help you. Get out of here. Get out of here. They don't want to have to realize that what they're doing is wrong, and they have to change that. So they'll rather blame somebody else and say the problem is with them rather than getting together their own issues. Yes, Sonny, dog drama. She doesn't want to listen. Yeah, that's right, Channel News. Some guys do have a problem with being wrong. I actually think that it might have a lot to do with their ego. You know, maybe they're battling with their ego here. Because, oh goodness, and that opens up another can of worms. Because guys don't like to be corrected, period. But if they are told that they're wrong or they're corrected by a woman, all hell breaks loose at that point. Whether they even say it out loud or whether they steam or simmer by themselves, but they don't like it. Period. They just don't like being wrong. But part of growing and being mature, not just growing yourself, but growing in relationships and things, is the admittance of being wrong. You can't grow unless you sometimes hit the ground and say I was wrong and then build from there. No one's going to fault you if you say I was wrong or deny their misdoings. Sylvia, absolutely. Absolutely. And they forget that they're only doing themselves wrong. When they sit there and they deny wrongdoing, you're only hurting yourself. It makes you lose train of thought. Doggies are furry toddlers. Yes, they are. She's a big overgrown baby, but I love her so much. She's my cutie pie. Then those people don't see others as equals. Sylvia, exactly. They don't see others as equals because they're too busy trying to project their issues on someone else that they can't see them as an equal and deal with them accordingly. So this person becomes a verbal or emotional punching bag to a degree where this is just, or no, not even just so much a punching bag as a dumping ground. Okay, because it makes them feel better to project their issues on others. And anytime that you actually see a man that has all this rah 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 and they talk too much, it's because they're trying to compensate. They're ignorant on other and on a lot of levels, and a lot of people, when you say ignorant, they feel like, oh, you're insulting, you're being insulting. No, you can be ignorant and not stupid. You're just ignorant on how to handle a certain thing, or you're ignorant on this level here. That's what makes you ignorant. So we're definitely not calling men stupid, but the fact that they, like Sunny said, growth is uncomfortable, is what she's saying here. So a lot of them don't want to grow, and they don't want to learn any better. You got her in a room? Yes. Thank goodness. Thank you, Corey. And that's the mail? Yeah. All right, cool. Thanks. Yeah. So they don't want to grow, and so they don't want to own up to a lot of things. Some people have a hard time to tell them the truth. I guess it's easier to live a lie, but the truth is easy if you think about it. Yeah, the truth is very easy if you think about it, Sunny News. You got a good point there. And I'll tell you why the truth is easy. Because if you are comfortable with who you are, you're grown, and you constantly live the truth, whether people like it or not, this is you. It's freeing in a sense, because you'll never have anybody come back at you and say something like, "Oh, I done caught you in a lie," or "Oh, I know what you're doing on this end," because you already know you're living your truth. You're being honest in everything that you do. So there's nothing that you can find out about me or say about me because I'm already telling the truth. I'm living the truth. So and also when it comes to a lot, and this also brings it back to the topic about men who can be inconsiderate at times. If there are things that a woman may be lying about or may not be forthcoming about, but he knows about it, that is a leverage for him to use to be able to manipulate the woman. Well, I could tell people what you do or what you say when not around others. But when you got a woman who's just not ashamed because she's not lying or doesn't have anything to hide, it's a lot less likely that you can be able to manipulate that woman. And it's a lot easier to be able to be truthful with yourself and others, and you don't have to worry about a conscience later. However, okay, let's see what Sunny says, because I'm sorry I missed a couple of the comments here. So it says how a guy relates to his hero and who is the hero gives lots of clues on how he'll react in most relationships. Correct. Correct. And you have to look at how he does that. But then again, when you say relates to his hero, what do you mean by that, Sonny? That way I can better understand if it's clarified a little more and I can expound on it in my own words. Because I understand some aspects of what you're saying, but I don't have the full thought clearly. If you could explain that a little more to me. Let's see. Yeah, some lie very easily. Actually, when you say some, I've, and I'm not putting down men here because I love men. Yes, I do. But I noticed that men can tell a lie. They can pull a lie out of thin air within seconds. And a lot of times it's because I don't know if it's because they're afraid of the truth as much as they're just using it as a manipulation tool. Because if they tell you the truth on how they're really feeling or thinking, um, then most women wouldn't want to be around them. And so they feel like it's easier to lie to a woman to keep women around and keep stringing them along than it is to tell the truth. And that's not right. That's actually not right. Because if you weren't thinking things in the background that shouldn't be thought or acting in a way that's not right, then you'd be able to tell the truth and not have to worry about having people around you if you don't lie. Ignorant because they don't know any better. Sylvia, exactly. Um, you said I have to learn that I can only control my actions. Everyone else's actions are out of my control. Correct. And that's why I don't worry too much about people's actions. If someone does something to me and I know that it's wrong or shady, I'll address it. But if they're gonna be callous or nasty towards me about it, then I just leave them alone because I'm not gonna keep on going back and forth with somebody and they're not listening to me, or I feel like they don't value me. So I can only control how I act and think. I can't control how you act and think. So if you want to be a jack behind and be nasty, well then that's on you. But you ain't gonna pull me in that because I'm responsible for me, and I have to live with me. When I finish acting like a fool, oh gosh, um, yeah, I'll get that in a minute. Oh my goodness, that's my mother calling. I'll call her back. Um, I have to live with myself when I'm acting like a fool or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Not the other person. So allow them continue to act the way they do and just leave it alone. Would a, wouldn't me laugh out loud that song? What song? Oh, was it me? I think guys think they'll never get caught, but they do. Oh yeah. Yes, guys get caught more often than they think. Because sometimes even if a woman doesn't say anything, um, they still actually know that you're lying. And they can catch you up on it. Just because they don't say nothing doesn't mean they don't know. So they get caught more times than they think. That's right, Sylvia. It wasn't me. Coming home in the shower. It wasn't me. Never, 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 never. It wasn't me. I don't know like the words to that song. Come in and better. I love that song. Now you got me thinking about it. Okay, what did Brittany say? She says, "Ugh, I hate putting makeup on. I'm trying to get ready for my daughter's doctor's appointment. If I could rock jammies, no makeup, and my hair tied up all day, every day, I would. Girl, please." Me too. I don't even have makeup on. I don't. Ain't nobody got time for that. Didn't that lady say that? Ain't nobody got time for that. I used to teach a class on how that relates to pop culture. I'm talking about his maturity level too. The slime ball we've been talking about are more along the maturity of preteen. Wow, wow. So he's basically an immature jerk that doesn't need to be writing books, and because of his book, he's going to create more immature jerks. Wow. Let me tell you something. That's why I stay single because a lot of these men, they're not in the right headspace. They're not in the right headspace. If you tell a woman the truth, they get mad. If you tell them a lie, they get even madder. Well, it depends. Okay? It depends, Shadow News. Because if you tell a woman the truth, she may get mad. She may not like that truth. But at least she knows what she's dealing with. So, like for instance, I'm gonna give you an instance. A man will continue to string on a woman he know darn well he don't like, not attracted to, but he's stringing her along. Just let this girl know, listen, I'm not attracted to you. I don't want to be bothered. Yeah, she'll get pissed off, but she'll leave you alone and she knows where she stands. And just leave it alone. Deal with yourself and move on. Unless you got a psycho and she wants to slash your tires and break in your house and stab you. then you got a court case going on. But a lot of women are not like that. That's a small percentage. They'll get mad and they'll keep it moving. And so that's better than lying to a woman and stringing her along. Actually, that's cruel. I don't really see a benefit in lies at all, at any time. And then they get madder because you lied, because then they sitting up here thinking one thing and it's totally a different thing. So just tell the truth. Um, yes, you've been watching a lot of narcissist videos, Sylvia. Hmm. Me too. I had to learn about narcissism because I've dealt with narcissists. And narcissist is a really heavy, deep, dark topic. And a lot of people think that narcissism is just people who like to brag about themselves a lot, but it's actually not. This is actually some deep, serious things. They use techniques on you to make you feel like you're crazy. There's a lot to narcissism than what people believe. And if people actually educated themselves more on it, they would see that maybe they're caught in a narcissistic relationship and need to get out of it. So if you haven't, anybody hasn't, they need to look more into narcissism. Sunny said they didn't develop in a few keys social growth experience, so they're stunted. Can be mature looking, but in key moments act like 10 to 13-year olds. Yeah. Yeah, Sunny, you brought up an excellent point. The social skills. They've never grown up, they've never developed those social skills. So what happened is they lash out like children. I saw a video. I'm gonna give y'all a good example here. I just saw a video maybe a day or two ago where the narcissist boyfriend was upset because her husband, um, her father asked a neighbor next door to move a stove because he refused to help the father move it. He sat in the back of that car and threw a temper tantrum. This is why I say, should women put up with this? He threw a temper tantrum. He berated her. He called her names. He was nasty with her. And she just sat there driving and crying. She sat right there and drove and cried. And he acted like a 10 to 13-year-old boy. And that couldn't have been me because I would have pulled that car over. Okay. And we would have had it out. You know, now I'm not saying that I would be hitting people and acting ghetto, but I would have gotten in his face. Yes, I would have said no. And this is the thing that women don't need to tolerate. I don't care whether it's a small temper tantrum or whether it's a big temper tantrum. Temper tantrums on grown men are not cute. They're not even cute on kids. I don't even let my nephews and niece throw temper tantrums. They're teenagers, so they don't throw temper tantrums, but they do get little attitudes. They will walk around this house if they have an attitude, and you'll feel it, and you got to let them know. Watch that. If you don't put up with temper tantrums from kids, why would you put up with a temper tantrum from a grown man that you're in a relationship with, that you're sleeping with, that you're building a house with? No. I don't care whether it's an outburst where they're saying one thing or throwing something across the room. You don't put up with that. Just period. Because I don't care if they say, oh, I was upset for that moment. Damn that. Okay? If you can't control yourself when you're in a situation where you're upset, where you got to be saying stuff, lashing out, throwing stuff, or doing whatever the hell they're doing, then you don't need to be in this relationship because you're not grown enough psychologically and emotionally to deal with situations that you're not comfortable in. So you got to question whether that's going to be a man that you want to build with if you can't control yourself. I've never been able to I've never put up with temper tantrums from men ever. And you know what? Let me tell you one more thing on that too. These men throw temper tantrums with women that they know they can get away with because they already know and they've already tested the waters before with these temper tantrums. So they know that they can throw a temper tantrum and get away with it because the woman's going to deal with it. And women should never deal with that kind of behavior from a man, period. You don't have to be beating on him or try to get into a physical confrontation, but your overall aura and the way you treat him after that will let his behind know. You want to play games with this relationship? You go ahead and throw another temper tantrum and see what happens. Because it's going to be me walking out this door. Yeah. And so when I saw that video, I was disgusted. I was simply disgusted. Okay. I missed a bunch of comments. I'm sorry. Oh, okay. It says here, not to create more, bring them out of the woodwork and train them. I was 23 years um, after my divorce. I did remarry. It works for me now. Yep, exactly, Sonny. Shadow News is single and happy. Hey, for the single crew. Ah! um, Look, babe, to keep it 100, you're hitting some personal things right now. I'm going through some BS. I just spent time doing my makeup, so I'm not about to get emotional right now and ruin it. Oh, Brittany, I'm walking out the door. I will be back if you're still on. Chances are I'm not going to still be on because I do have to go to work later. Um, Actually, I need to be wrapping up now because I do have to start getting ready to go to work. But I will be doing some more lives, and I do have some set topics and schedules. So, you know, and you have my email, girl. So if you want to talk, we can always talk too. Yes, it's so sinister. It is sinister, Sylvia. Yes. Okay. Definitely, Brittany. I hope you have a good day. Yep. Have a good, safe day. There's a scale of narcissistic personality, yes, mild to severe. This personality type progresses and most bloom in their late 40s. Yes, that is what I heard. So it gets worse when they get in their 40s, like a crazy lunatic. That's a man that's stuck on himself. He has no respect for himself. Correct. Shadow News, you are absolutely correct. Men who are stuck on themselves and don't have respect for themselves can never have respect for a woman or a relationship. Okay. So, um, not at all. I want to smack them when they try that temper tantrum stuff. Yes. It's like, but then you can slap them in a different way. You put your foot down and let them know you're not going to deal with that. You know? And a lot of times, women who don't deal with men's temper tantrums, we get labeled as hard to deal with. Okay. All right, Channel News. No problem. um, and thank you for stopping in too. If you don't make it back before I get off the stream, I do appreciate you coming by and chatting. But yeah. Oh, I love you too, Brittany. You have a good rest of your day, girl. But yeah, I'm telling you, you cannot put up with these temper tantrums. It will make you want to slap them, but you slap them in your actions by walking away from their behind and letting them sit right up there and steam and get upset and get mad. You want to throw a temper tantrum, you're gonna do it on your own. You're gonna do it by yourself. Um, you're fabulous live hostess. I've had a great time with you and y'all other YouTubers here in chat. Oh, yeah, because I'm about to wrap it up. Great live. Look forward to your next one. Thank you, Sylvia. Thank you so much, guys, for supporting me. So, yeah, guys, I am going to wrap this up because this gives me about an hour before I have to get ready for work. And I got to make sure that my nephews and niece get their lunch before I go. So, once again, thank you, Sylvia. Thank you, Brittany slash Hennix. Thank you, Sunny. Sunny, you always bring up the best stuff. I'm telling you, you are an asset to these lives. Thank you, girl. And Shadow News, thank you so much for stopping by and taking time out of your day to talk with me. So we definitely sip the tea on this one. And I will be seeing you guys next live. I'm gonna start doing my lives on every Friday morning is good for me. So I'm gonna start doing it that way. And my next topic is going to be about the difference between an alpha and a beta female. There we go, Sylvia. Right. So yeah, the next topic is going to be the difference between an alpha and a beta female. I've noticed that a lot of times there is a misconception on what an alpha female is. Alpha female is not disrespectful. So we're going to get into what that is and break down how we can more be an alpha female rather than a beta female. Okay. So I'm looking forward to getting your spilling the tea. We're not sipping it, girl. We spilling it. We gotta clean up after that though. But yeah, I'm looking forward to basically seeing what you guys' thoughts is on the alpha female versus beta female topic that we're going to be having next Friday. So once again, guys, y'all have a good day, and I will see y'all later. There we go, sipping. Ah, yeah, we sipping the tea, girl. But then again, wait a minute, spilling the tea. Spilling the tea, yeah, you were right too. Because when you spilling the tea, you telling somebody business. So we doing both. We sipping it and we spilling it. I'm out, guys. Peace.